So welcome guys. So let's continue with the second video, right? So in today's video we'll be learning about what are variables and what are data types, so also the basics of data types, right? So let's get started and create a REPL first. C++, yeah. So from now on also I'll give you the link of the REPLs in the description box so that you can access it anytime when you need to refer the code. So it will be easy to use it afterwards. Variables and okay, data types. So it will help you to refer the code afterwards if you need any help or if you've forgotten. So it's not a problem. Also I'll give you the notes including what are all the important topics. Okay, you don't have to learn everything because like there are a lot of unnecessary stuff. Just read the practical part of it. I guess that's enough. So first starting with, okay, so I had told you I would explain you header files. So what are header files is, see, first we'll start with this line. This is called as declaration of header files, right? What are including the header files, what we need. So including header files. So first starting with header file, see, so this is using this double forward slash is how you write comment in C++. It's almost the same for most of the languages. So what are comments is, these are the part of the not code, right? These are just statements which we write for referring, like in further if somebody want to improve or upgrade the program, they must need to understand what is the program about. So here is what we write comments. So these are not being executed by the compiler, right? Compiler is the one which executes the code. So here we are doing it in cloud. You don't have to worry much about it, what is compiler and all stuff. It's all done in the cloud. And hash include, so see, hash include IOStream is nothing but input output stream. So this is nothing but a header file. What this header file is does is, see, like example cout. Okay, first I would include here the using namespace using namespace std. Namespace std, yeah. So fine. Now what is this cout, right? So it is called as console output, as I told you in the last video. So what is the job of this console output is to print anything what's written, right? In double quotes we use this. Okay, so when we print this in output, how is the compiler understanding that this thing works for output, right? So nothing but this IOStream where you will install, like, so this is in the cloud. When you install like compilers like old compilers, Borland, Turbo, C++, you will have a folder called as bin in your local Dixie, right? Where the program is installed in program files or wherever you install it. So there will be a file called as IOStream. So what this IOStream contains is, it contains all the input and the output functions. Before, previously in older versions, we had to have IOStream.h. We had to include the extension called as .h, means header file. But in modern day C++, it's not needed, and most of these things are there in one header file itself, that is called the IOStream. Whereas previously we had to include conio.h, which is called as console input output, right? I'll show you like this, hash include conio.h, right? Before we had to include like this, here would just include IO stream, right? See, in before syntax we had to write like this, conio.h, iostream.h. But in the newer versions of C++, it's not at all needed, so you don't have to worry. Maybe in your schools you have learnt include writing conio.h because you might have used older compilers like Borland. So don't worry about that. In modern compilers we don't need that all stuff, so I'll just erase it. So now starting from the code, so see, whatever we write is the int main. This is the starting of the function, right? This is the main function. This is the starting of the program, from where the program starts executing. And further we'll learn about what are classes, objects, right? So whenever the execution of the program starts, remember it always starts from the main function. You have to write main. A program must have the main function. Other functions may or may not be there, but the main function must be there. And we'll further talk about main function. So function is what? It is a block of code. Function is nothing but a block of code which we use repeatedly so that it returns a value. So that what? It returns a value. Say that you don't want to type something, say hello world 50 times. You don't have to type that 50 times. Further we'll learn in the upcoming videos. We'll use a for loop. We can type n number of times. We can just print without just typing it once, right? So that will become a block of code we can include that in a function, and a function can return a value, may not return a value. Okay, so don't get confused now. I'll explain you that in later videos. So first we'll talk about what are variables. Variables are nothing but, like you have learnt in mathematics, variables are nothing but like x equal to 2, y equal to 3, x plus y equal to c, something like that. So what is a variable is nothing but it is a identifier. What is an identifier? It is nothing but a programming element. So what does it does? It stores a given value to it. It may be a string, it may be a number, it may be a float. That is nothing but what we call float. Okay, I'll explain what we call float now. And there are data types. Now wait, I'll just type here so that you understand what are variables. So I am trying to do this course from exact basics, so everyone's understand it who are first entering to the program, who don't know anything. I know it feels a bit boring who know programming prior to this, so just bear with me for some videos and then we'll make the level higher. Variables are identifier. Okay, if I'm not wrong in spelling. Okay, identifier that stores some given value by the user. Alright, so let's create a variable. Say I'll use data type int. Int means nothing but integer, any number of the form integer. Now see, I'll explain you what is integer, don't get confused. Int is nothing but, don't think like your mathematics. In mathematics we are like integer. Okay, it's similar to that, but mainly here integer means whole number, right? It won't have any fractional value, not the rational numbers and all stuff. Whereas float will have this fractional values, and also later I'll tell you what are the like sizes stored. So these are different types of data types which are used to store different types of value. Int can only store integer type of value, whole numbers. Okay, so I'll create a variable first, int say, and whenever you are trying to create a variable, always try to give a meaningful name, so that later in programs it is a good practice. I know you can give names like A, B, C, D, but it is not good practice, since you will get confused further writing when larger programs. What is the meaning of that variable, or have I used it repeatedly? So give some meaningful name. So here I would give some meaningful I would give marks. Say somebody has scored 45 and I would just do cout and I would just do marks. Now see, when I'm typing here marks, you see I'm not including these double quotes. When I'm not including those double quotes, these double quotes are only used while we want to print something like a text that the user is typing or giving. But whenever you are trying to print a variable or any identifier kind of thing, never use double quotes. Okay, I would also talk about this backslash and what is given here, right? You can exactly see when my cursor is pointing. These are called as escape sequences, which we'll learn about in the further upcoming classes. So when you will see cout marks, I'll run this program. Okay, let me just comment this and see, I'm using the VS Code shortcuts. Who have used prior VS Code would know the shortcuts. Whenever I want to comment some line, I'll just press Control in your keyboard and press the /. Okay, it will just comment your line. Wait, now see, it printed 45. So what is 45? 45 is nothing but the value of this variable marks, which is of the data type int. Now can I store a float kind of value, say 45? See, it is giving me kind of error warning. See, you can just see here, implicit conversion from double to int changes value from 45.45 to 45. So either it will give me and throw an error, mostly which throws an error. So let us see. If not, it will give me the integer value. See, since it is a modern compiler, it understands this automatically that it would be an integer value. It just implicitly converts. What do you mean by implicit? Is nothing but done by the compiler. You don't do that. Okay, the user isn't telling that it is being converted, but whereas the compiler converts that 45.45 into an int. So it just considers these first values, the whole number 45, and it prints here, right? Whereas if I would use data types like float, and I would do marks, say English, say 88. If I do cout marks ing, yeah. So see, to autocomplete, I'm just pressing tab. This is a shortcut, right? So whenever you get suggestions saying, I'll just press the tab button, it will autocomplete. Then every time remember to put the semicolon. It is very important in C++ and even in most of the programming languages except few like JavaScript. It understands automatically and it implicitly puts the semicolon. So yeah, so here you have to put semicolon. So see, it's printing 88. Sorry, just a minute. Yeah, it's fine. Just I'll use a endl. So see, either for moving to the next line you can use a slash and backslash n, like here in the escape sequences, or you can put a endl, which means end of line. So it will shift the cursor to the next line. 88. Now see, it will print 45, then next line 88. Now see, float can store integer values. It can print integer value, but including that, since a rational number can be an integer, right? But integer cannot be a rational number. It can be, but like it won't have those decimal places, right? So if I use here say 88.36, just comment below in the video whether it would print 88.36 or just 88. Pause the video and take your time. Okay, now see, I'll show you. It will print 88.36 since I've used here the data type called as float, not int. See, you can just see here the output 88.36 in the console screen. So that is the use of float. Float can store decimal values. It can store any number of decimal values, but not very long values. So we have another type of data type called as double. Double is nothing but similar to float. And if I use here max, yeah. If you see here, if I print, it will print this large decimal value. So see, yeah, I will just use endl. Now see, exactly you can see here 98.9636. okay, so it can print up to that much. So that's the precision of the double. So double and float are almost similar. So see, what is the use of int is to store integer value in data type. What is a variable? A variable is nothing but an identifier that is used to store any type of value. It may be an integer, float, double, boolean, string. I'll tell you about boolean and string later, okay. And then cout, I would just take the output. Float, it will store decimal kind of numbers. Now if I put more values in here, now see the precision of float is less, only up to 3 decimal places, whereas the precision of double is more. It can store more decimal numbers. So this float and double are similar, but they are different, right? So integer, only integer value, float decimal value, double decimal value, but with more number of decimal places. So here in float, double you have, right? Next, what you will observe is there are even other type of data types, right? So using an int, you can't store a float value. Remember, a decimal value cannot be stored. So there are different things. And I would just put here 45 row. So it is showing a warning. You can just see highlighted there 45. Now if I use, like, there are data types as called as boolean, bool, right? Bool I would use. The short form it is called like integer int. I would put pass. Say example, a variable called as pass. output as true. Sorry, not console.log. I have habit of programming JavaScript, so just trying to remember the syntax is a bit difficult. And I would say the result is okay equal to pass. Just now see, the result is there is nothing printing, right? So why is it not printing? The question is here. How it considers bool. So see, when in computer logic we just follow one logic, 0 and 1. 0 means low voltage in terms of electronics, low voltage, and 1 means high voltage. In terms of true and false, 1 means true, 0 means false. Remember, 1 means true, 0 means false. And then what we have is 1 means true and false, right? So true means pass means this is 1, right? So this is true, so pass will get a value assigned as 1. So this is basically how it works, right? Boolean data type. Next I would also explain you there are string, right? So string I wouldn't include in this video. It would be like, string is not a data type basically, okay? Don't think string is a data type. It's not a data type in C++, but string is a data type in many other programming languages. When C++ was discovered, string were made using for loops and arrays. So what string is? A collection of characters. String is nothing but like sentence. Hi, hello, how are you? Right? So it is a collection of characters, basically a sentence, a word. So that is what we call a string. So don't think string as a data type. Okay, it's not in C++. In JavaScript it's a data type. In Python, string is separately called a data type. Again, there also it is a collection of characters, nothing but an array. But we have given it a separate data type, right? So here you cannot just declare like that, okay, something and this is the string. You cannot assign value like that. So it's a bit different. So I think most of the things you have understood, and I would just here put variables, identifiers that give some value given by the store, some value given by the user. I would also write here some data types. Next videos will discuss the upcoming data types, what are arrays, how to declare arrays and string, and obviously afterwards we'll also discuss about classes and objects. We have time for that, and some of the data types in C++. Okay, now I also wanted to tell you about this int, float, double and bool, about their storage, right? Storage means memory. In computer, whatever we store is either stored in the RAM or the ROM, basically RAM, the memory, right? So in RAM is nothing but, okay, you will probably know that it's volatile memory. It is used during the runtime when the computer is running, right? So whenever you declare it as int, remember this is not perfect, but still if question is asked, you should answer. The int has a data type which allocates value of 2 bytes. Remember, it allocates value of 2 bytes in the memory. Again, listen my sentence carefully. Int is a data type which allocates memory of 2 bytes in the memory. The memory means, I mean the RAM, right? Random access memory. So why I told it is not perfect is, according to before, we used to use like 16-bit computers, 16-bit processors, but nowadays we have computers based on 64-bit, right? You don't have to go to that depth. So based on that, you will have different sizes used in the memory, and nowadays we also use Unicode. Okay, you can just Google out what is Unicode, don't worry about that. So it doesn't mean it always stores 2 bytes. Based on the system memory, it stores different amount of storage, but in general we just tell it 2 bytes. So question is asked, you can just tell 2 bytes. Float is 4 bytes. I will just write here so you can understand. 4 bytes, 2 bytes. And similarly, double can allocates memory of 8 bytes, since it's kind of the bigger brother of float, and bool stores just 1 byte, right? 1 byte. Sorry, yeah, so 1 byte. Similarly, char, okay, I can also declare char. Let me just, okay, I'll just say you about char and string, because basically collection of characters there. Okay, I will just include. So this is more or less about the video, and if you have any suggestion or comments regarding this course, about this course, you can just drop it in the comment box below. And if you want to contact, obviously I've given my email ID, you can just contact me there if any issues or anything you have not understood. And this is the code, I would just paste it in the description box, you can just have a look at it whenever you want. And also I would give you the notes here, right, about the, I will just make it in parts so that you can understand simply what are variables, what are the data types. Okay, you don't have to get confused. And if you want, you can also buy the hard copy of this book from O'Reilly, right? Here's the name of the author. I feel his books are the best for learning programming, as he explains it in quite simple language. And so that's it for the video. I guess, hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.